Good morning, fellow Rotarians and guests. Please take a moment to look around the room at all of the amazing men and women here today.
Okay, we're done with that.
We already know.
All of us gathered here in this moment sharing this incredible, extraordinary experience of being alive and dedicating ourselves to improvement and improving the lives of the people of our community. In love and in compassion, in reason and in faith. Please enjoy the day and make a difference. Please stand for the pledge. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Four-way test.
Is it true? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned?
Thank you, Howard. Billy?
Hey, how are you doing? Good. All right, so we have one visitor, Dale Harold. He's a guest of Tom Nelson.
Let me introduce Dale real quick. Stand up, please. Dale is with Self-Help. If y'all are familiar with Self-Help, in fact, decided that would be a great program for us. Revolution Deal story and all those type of things. He's past president down in Charlotte, and he is looking for, if the timing's good, for him to get back in Rotary and looking around for Rotary funds.
I met Dale this morning, and he talked about being a past president. He said it's like going to New York. He said that, everybody wants to go to New York and be in New York, but after a while, you want to quit and come on home. Couldn't agree with him more, Dale. I got a little bit more pep in my step today for some reason.
You get glad twice.
Exactly. This is our last breakfast meeting of the year, guys.
No, one more hour.
Oh, that's right. I'll be gone.
What?
I'll be on vacation. It's my last breakfast meeting. So thanks for everything that everybody's done this year, and look forward to seeing everybody next week, next Thursday. We'll have a great blast to end the year. Dale.
Yes. Birthdays. We have a birthday today. Randy Elliott.
It's a rhetorical question.
All right, we have 3 anniversaries coming up, and they're all on the 15th, which is tomorrow. This is a reminder. Pamela and Dale Farlow. Jill and Bobby Christensen, 33 years. Lori and Walter Howell. Oh, come on, let's go out and celebrate together.
Matthew, can you give us a report from this past weekend?
Sure. Good morning, everybody. We had a great cleanup. I didn't bring my tablet with all the names on it, but don't worry about it. But we had a great time. 10 of us, plus my daughter and myself, cleaned up the street. Hour it was done, and next time I hope we can get a little more participation and have a little more fun and stuff. Thanks.
Fantastic. Ken, do you have what's the count for next week?
We're at about 62 people. So
That's including spouses?
yeah. So next Thursday, 21st at 6 o'clock. Still have time to register. It's getting down to the wire now. So
Please do. We won't have a meeting that Thursday, so there's no reason not to come to that. All right. Any other announcements? Fundraiser? That's it? All right. Well, let's go ahead and do maybe the last few. Sorry, Kevin. I know I have a couple families. Let's do 2 full tables and 2 back tables. Y'all were the nice guys. All right. Out of 5 possible answers, the question is: if you were told to evacuate your house immediately, what's the first thing you would bring with you? And who wants to play? Since they're looking over, they got this blank. Ross, you want to play? All right. Now you got one answer. My wife. Family. I'll give it to you. Ding, ding, ding. Family. Wife. Pets. Ding, ding, ding. Number 3 answer. 3 more. Documents, papers. Good job. See, category guys. They got 2 left. Up to you, Mr. Nuss.
Backup hard drive.
Next. Photographs. Ding, ding, ding.
There we go.
Good job.
That's on the hard drive.
We got one more. Right, it could be the easiest answer I've ever taken. But hey, it's first money. That is it. Oh, okay. So there is one more answer.
It's not money?
No, it is. That's right. That's good. You only got 1 X. Well, let's see. First money. We're saying this one. Close. That's it.
First time anybody's got them all at one time.
All right, $50.
Happy dollars. All right.
All right, Jay. Oh, geez. Okay, I got here, bus right here, I got 2. Okay, so the first one is my youngest daughter, Lauren, is pregnant, so I'm going to be. And the second one, this may not be that happy for me, but right now, my second oldest daughter, Lindsay, is moving to Denver today. So
Great place to visit.
Wow. Yes, oh, yeah, exactly, as well. So I've got 1 daughter pregnant, 1 daughter's living away, so. Long and black.
We are, once every 40 years, whether we need it or not, they put new carpets in the judicial chambers at our county courthouse. So we're having to reconfigure how things are set up, where my offices are. We're having to clean out. I'm cleaning out about 20 years worth of hassle archives from Bar Association stuff and First Press Session stuff and Symphony Board and Historic Museum trustees. And one of the things I'm having a lot of fun culling through is rediscovering some pockets of Rotary archives that I've tucked away over the years, past newsletters and things and pictures of outings to Camp Carefree, and it's just always a reminder, and I appreciate you giving me the opportunity to be the club historian and archivist, but this club has done an awful lot of good over 26 years now, and we're 27 this month as of next week. We're doing some amazing things today, and we continue to grow as a group and grow with each other. And one of the things you really get a sense of is the continuing sense of fellowship as well, that it's special to all of us. And you can see it in the pictures you cull through and columns that are written and copies of emails I've printed off. So it's a lot of fun. And there are all kinds of little things that you come through. A couple of years ago when I did this, I read off Kelly Harrell's acceptance 7-day letter, and they're kind of fun things too. One of the things I jumped in on, and we used to have, when we had a hard copy newsletter, some of you still remember that? That Buster and Chuck Downey and a lot of folks in this room helped do, and we actually got some awards for it too at one point. We would have a member profile And just an example, here's Chip Vale's member profile. Chip Vale is VP Financial Analyst at First Citizens Bank and Trust. Describe your role within your company. Why did you choose this profession? What's your proudest accomplishment? Describe your family. Why did you join Rotary and why do you stay involved? What is your favorite memory of Rotary? It would have to be in the mid to late 90s. It was the Christmas breakfast meeting and we were singing carols. Halfway through one of the songs, Buster Lewis, clad in a red Santa Claus outfit, burst through the doors at the O. Henry, belling, "Did I hear someone say Santa Claus?"
You mean that was Buster?
Buster weren't there. It was a surprise and kids fell into a trance. I think the adults fell into a trance too. No one knew who this Santa was. This had never been done before at the club before. So, kind of fun business.
I think from now on, I'm gonna get either that judge or Howard to deliver my hat. I got lucky,
Oh, really?
won the age group, no, not that lucky.
Yes,
I won the age group in the club championship.
I got an email about
Senior
that.
club
Yes.
championship.
All right.
I'm a senior now.
Well, last week I forgot to thank Ken Kinka because he hosted by far and away the largest 505, Monkey Club 505 we've had, which we went 36 people last week. And yesterday afternoon we had one out at the Gate City Sports Grill. The Gate City Sports Grill is managed by somebody, I never did meet her. I asked several times, but I did not meet the lady, who's in Greensboro Rotary. And they had 8 or 9 people there, which is a fantastic turnout for Greensboro Rotary at one of these kind of things.
That's more than their regular.
Buster said it, not me. But I wanted to thank Ken Kinka for putting that on because that's by far and away, I've had more compliments than thoughts. So if you want us to start coming by there all the time, Ken, we probably work that out. It was out by the pool, and we did have somebody in a bathing suit. We had James Pegram. He showed up. So anyway, we're going to pause for the next couple of weeks because we're into changing the guards, and we'll pick back up. I think it's the 11th of July afterwards. We'll still have a Club 505 for anybody that wants to come out. But anyway, 23 people last night, 5 clubs. I thought it was pretty darn good to be all the way out there at 40 and Gate City Boulevard. So.
Got a couple this morning. I am a member, this is a Happy Dollar for Rotary in general. I am Vice President of the Triad Retirement Living Association and had Gary Everhart from Cart Funds. I was able through Rotary to reach out to Gary and he came and spoke to our trial meeting this past Tuesday morning and spoke about Alzheimer's. A lot of you have had the pleasure of hearing Gary speak before. Well, what he's doing now, if you haven't had a chance to hear it, I'm sure at the district conference, or if you get a chance, he's over at Guilford Rotary, I believe it's his club. To get a chance and get updated on what Gary's doing with CART and where it's going, it's pretty exciting. And I was very grateful that I had a chance to, through Rotary to know Gary and to actually bring him in to share that message. The other is the woman from the United Way of Greensboro that came and spoke a couple of weeks ago. Michelle. Thank you so much. I left my phone, and of course I forgot her name. But I have a meeting today with Michelle at 11 o'clock. A lot of what we do at Comfort Care is just helping our caregivers navigate their lives so that they in turn can help our clients live their best life possible. And going in and running the business and providing care to people is one thing, but it's quick if it's quick to identify. If you don't know early that the other person, if their lives aren't in order, they cannot take care of anybody else to any type of level standard you want to achieve. And so I've been trying to figure this out for about a year. How do I do this? How do I help? And I'm very excited. I'm basically going to go in there today and just ask her to be my mentor for the next year to help all these people. And I'm very appreciative of all the people at Rotary that put it together. You specifically, Chip, allowed me this opportunity.
Well, we're reaching a family milestone this morning. Our oldest child, Rebecca, is graduating from Page High School at 9 o'clock this morning.
I was always fascinated that Joseph Stalin managed to facilitate his rise to power in the Soviet Union within his role as General Secretary of the Communist Party. I prefer from this point on if y'all would refer to me, especially next year, as General Secretary. That being said, my heart is so warmed by all of your kind responses to my email yesterday with regard to perfect attendance. I saw, where I'm lacking. I'm not really good about corresponding to y'all on a weekly basis. I'm really going to work on that a lot better this week.
And with that being said, Grandpappy Lewis always used to tell me, it takes 64 muscles to frown and only 12 to smile. But it doesn't take any to just sit there with a dumb look on it.
Thank you, General Secretary, for your remarks. Steve's done a great job. Being a secretary is not an easy task, and especially keeping up with it. And glad that's you. Appreciate it, man. So, every past president has been in this role, and anyone that has had to line up a speaker knows that the last thing that you want to have occur a day or 2 days before your meeting is for your speaker to call and say, this is not going to work out this week. And there you are, 24 hours, 48 hours ahead of time, you're stuck. And that's not much time to get someone in place. I am especially grateful for Tony this year because early on I realized I need to have a great program in my pocket for the emergency, for the last minute cancellation. And knowing that he travels a lot, I knew that was going to be one of the things to navigate. But just knowing that he would come in at the last minute and bail me out, bail us out, has been a tremendous comfort. So Tony, I so appreciate that, and I've been looking forward to this program all year. So Tony Hummar grew up in the Netherlands. I guess you all didn't think it was southern Georgia or anywhere like that. He earned his undergraduate and graduate degrees there. He earned a master's at Delft University of Technology and Industrial Design. He continued his education with coursework at the University of Oxford and the Sloan School of Management at MIT. Apart from a few years working for a major U.S. Management consulting firm, he developed his career in capital equipment, all in the machinery, with machinery that produces capital goods. First aircraft and then consumer packaging and now textiles. He held positions in marketing, sales, corporate strategic planning, and since 1990, general management of operating companies of larger international groups. His life has been pretty nomadic. Tony has lived in 9 different countries on 3 different continents. His work.
Places, not countries.
What's that?
Not countries. 9 different places.
9 different places. Okay.
Unless you consider New Jersey a different country.
Some folks might say that. So his life and work has been very international. He's traveled extensively, conducted business in over 40, face-to-face business in over 40 different countries. At the end of 1992, he was transferred to the USA to manage an operation in New Jersey. And this was supposed to be a 3-year ex-paid deal. Do that and return. 25 years later, Tony is still with us, and we're so appreciative of that. He and his wife became U.S. citizens in 2000, and in 2004 he joined Carl Mayer as president of the North America division. In 2006, he consolidated Carl Mayer's operations into the Greensboro facility. This year, Tony will be married to his wife Cynthia for 33 years. Cynthia is his true companion and buddy in all life's adventures. They both have the same philosophy. Where you are is where you have to be at home. And Greensboro is now home. Tony, I so appreciate you being available to bail me out at the last minute for the last 6 months. Thank you, and we're looking forward to hearing about Carl Mayer.
Good morning, Gate City Rotary. Good morning. Thank you, Chip, for this wonderful introduction. Indeed, for 8 months straight, roughly, since Chip asked me for the first time, every Wednesday night I've been practicing in front of him. But of course I have to give Chip a compliment because, again, the deal was when he's in a bind, he can call me, and he's never been in a bind. So I'm not even sure if he today is in a bind or just feels guilty. But anyhow, I'll try to introduce something about the company, Carl Mayer, where I work for. As you learned from Chip, we make machinery in the textile industry. I think my main challenge will be not to make your head spin or eyes glaze over, because it is all very technical stuff. If we go into products and what they do and how they work, so I try to be very light on that. I also tell a little bit about the company itself, and we'll tell you a little bit about how I look at my work and career and working for a company like this. We have, of course, our company is typical for, I would say, production equipment, capital equipment. You have a lot of close relationships with your customers. There's always a lot of big events and big things going on because everything is based on very long-term relations. But also means that we have a lot of presentation material. So what I did is I kind of make a jumble of visual material we have, adapt it here and there. Then I put in, to make it a bit more lively, some more snapshot kind of thing, because typically you present to people who know this stuff, so they understand better when you show something of a machine what it really means, and also put some personal things in. So it's a little bit of a mismatch of different presentation material. But this, for instance, to start with, to give you an idea of the company itself, comes from a typical company introduction. So we make machinery for the textile industry. We are operating worldwide and have about 2,500 employees around the world. We have locations in about 10 locations in different countries. The company is German, as you can obviously see from the name of the company. We basically do business in, last time we counted, we did business in about 90 countries last year. I think we sold machines in 90 different countries. So it's really worldwide. And it's a pretty, not a really old, but a pretty old company. It was founded in 1937. I'm not going to bother you with all the details about the history of the company, but it's kind of interesting. It's that it was founded by, of course, a name, Carl Mayer, Mr. Carl Mayer, who passed away quite a while ago in the meantime. The company was international very early on. In fact, the first location overseas, which is interesting, was in the US in 1956. So we've been around, was not here, the location here in Greensboro was started in 1968, it's also pretty old, it's here exactly 50 years. Other thing that was very important. Another thing was very interesting in the history of the company is that very early on the company moved into Asia. Also in 1968 they opened the first location in Asia, in Japan, so and we still have the company in Japan. And went into China also very early on. Also in the early 90s. In China, in fact, we are in shows here somewhere, we are in our second plant already. At a certain point in time, the city didn't like, well, they did like the location where our plant was, and they have some kind of eminent domain kind of system, said, oh, we want that location, we give you some new land. So which is in a way nice, because they paid well, and we have a beautiful plant in China with about 1,000 employees, and about 1 million square feet, so it's pretty big. And so other highlights in the history, I'll say we did quite a few of acquisitions in some areas, mainly to buy technology. Once to buy a competitor because they were in financial difficulties and we didn't want them to fall into the hands of the Chinese, which, as you know, copy everything, and also our machines. And that also included quite some activities in the US, so I have been pretty heavily involved with merging acquisitions into the US, merging into our operation, closing down companies, selling buildings, all that stuff. It all settled down a bit, I should say, in maybe 3 years, 2-3 years ago. And now life is relatively quiet. I mean, business is good, and there's nothing really actually going on. Our mission, company mission is always a very interesting thing, because every company, these larger companies, they always put a lot of thought in that. We do that too. We have like twice a year strategy meeting and strategy radar, we call it, and a radar update. And Germans are very precise anyhow, so you can spend days and days and days about coming up with something like this. But what it really means, if you look at the highlights, which is kind of, because it's kind of a lingo, ideal technical and commercial solutions, and maximum customer benefits. That basically means that we're not cheap, that we have expensive equipment. But the idea is that the idea of your mission is you make like really high quality, high performance equipment, but you have to pay the price. So that means the cost per product, let's say whatever you measure, a yard or fabric, is very good, but you have to pay for it. That's kind of one part of the mission. With reliable business partner, because we're a very old company, I would say a very independent company. We have zero debt and always a lot of cash reserves. So that means we can be very long-term oriented, which is another good thing for customers, because they buy equipment for years to come. I'll show you a bit later. The equipment has to be serviced during its life. You have to have spare parts during its life. So that's another important thing as a benefit or a value for your customers. Other thing, and again that's the parting of the mission, what we call investment security, because it's very high quality. That means the machines have very high residual values. So there's a used machine market worldwide for all this stuff. So a lot of things are moving around the world. And last but not least, and one reason why I'm here, is we have the philosophy that we are close to our customers. So we have the various locations because we want to be close to customers. There's a lot of innovation going on together with customers and our customers' customers, in fact. So as I just mentioned, a lot of innovation in all kinds of areas. First, as a productivity and quality, I just mentioned that customers want to have machines that make what they want to make with the right quality, and basically at the lowest cost. So that means you always look at things to make things faster, make changeover of machines faster. That's one area. New applications is always an ongoing thing. And we work a lot with major brands also here in the US, especially I would say automotive. So we do a lot of fabric that goes into cars. And sports apparel brands. I think Nike, we're working with Nike, Under Armour, Lululemon, VF. But VF, the activewear, the California people, so we work a lot with them. Here, if I mention some US names, and we have the same thing worldwide, really. Then on the equipment itself, there's a couple of challenges and changes. I think one is, if you look at automation, intuitive operation, there's a big problem with skill of operators. Finding skilled people and technical people is a big challenge, definitely in the US, a bit less in Europe. So you try to make your equipment easier to work with, and the people have to be less technical. Instead of doing all kinds of adjustment and knowing stuff, they just push a button on a touchscreen and everything works. That's the ideal. Sustainability is always a big thing. You know, especially some of the bigger brands, they look at energy use. I have a friend who works at VF. He's VP of Sustainable Sourcing or something like that. So we have a VP for that, only for that. Other thing is digital. Everything is connected these days. You know, like you connect your thermostat at home with your iPhone. Our machines do similar things. They connect to the internet with us and our service. So there's a lot of happening in that area. And last but not least, we always try to ergonomics design, make the machines make good, safe. Think about OSHA, safe for operation. Now it's getting a bit complicated. I started to tell you what we're making. And what we're making, we really have three, and we organize by business units, which is kind of interesting. We have three different business units. One is called work knitting, one is called technical textiles, and one is called work preparation. I'll explain you a bit what it is. Important to understand is that, and that's looks simple here, that we worldwide organized by business unit. So here in the US, we are not a business unit. But I basically am responsible for the business of all these three business units here. So organizationally, it's kind of like a matrix. So we have an operation here, which is a normal US company under US law, with US tax and 401ks and health insurance, whatever. It's a completely independent company. But I have one boss in Germany, and I have about 15 people who will think they are my boss. So that can be a VP sales, that can be a VP sales of a business unit, says, why don't you do this, and why don't you do that? Or you have a product manager of one product line, you should do this, and you should do that. So that's kind of how the organization works. Now, so I show you a little bit, again, I'm trying not to make your head spin about what the 3 business units all make. I have now to give you one basic lesson, because you see warp knitting and warp preparation. Most people know that from weaving, although we don't do weaving. You have like a warp. Warp is the yarns that go in the length direction of the products that you make. Now, weaving, everybody kind of knows. You have this one, and then you go through, and then in the length direction is called the warp, and the cross direction is called the weft. That's a very old term, don't ask me where it comes from. So two of our things is warp knitting, so we make machines that knit, but they knit in the length direction of the fabric that you produce. Warp preparation is kind of simple. Before you knit or you weave, you have to make sure that you have a warp. Sounds simple, but it's not that simple on these machines. And the third one is very completely different things, but again, I'll show you. So let's show you warp knitting. So there's a lot of different machines, a lot of different applications. Warp knitting is used in all kinds of things. As I mentioned, automotive, a lot of automotive textiles. Just about every headliner you see in your car is made on our machines. Also, if you don't have leather, obviously not leather, but if you have fabric on the seats, there's a lot on our equipment. Things inside the seats, quite a bit. Especially you have things like heated, ventilated seats. You have machines that make some kind of 3-dimensional fabrics. We call it spacer fabrics. So there's 2 layers and it's connected so air can flow through it. So we do a lot of that. Apparel, I just talked you about, but we do many different things. We do things from lace to, which is very complicated, to show you a bit, to very simple, mainly I would say things that have some elastic in it, like sports apparel. We call it in industry lingo, we call it intimate apparel, like bras and pantyhose and these type of panties and things like that. So it sounds kind of funny, but even, Victoria's Secret, for instance, is indirectly a customer of ours, so we deal with Victoria's Secret as an example. Sportswear, especially shoes, running shoes. There's a lot of stuff we make for running shoes. Now, this is a very special kind of fabric, if you look closely. Now, and then you have some other whole variety of things, home textiles, and all kind of very technical, semi-technical, we can do all kind of things. In the US, there's quite a few in medical, but also something in aerospace, there's some military stuff, there's all kind of different things. And then we have a separate product range for nets, which is kind of, they can be pretty intricate machines. Like shade nets for agriculture or next to a tennis court, but also like soccer goal nets, fishing nets. It's kind of a small niche. In the US we have a funny niche with this hay bale nets. If you see these big rolled up hay bales, they go in a net and that holds them together. So we have maybe 5 or 6 customers, and mainly there's one out in Utah, and there's 2 out in Kansas, 1 out in Wisconsin. And they make these hay bale nets. And also some like packaging net. If you buy a bag of oranges, you have funny nets, so that can also be made on our machine. So all the kind of different stuff. Too much stuff. Just an idea how a machine looks like. I took one with this snapshot with people on it, so you get a bit of an idea of the size. And so this is a pretty simple machine. This is what we call a tricot machine. And the tricky part is, so we talked about this warp, so you see this whole length, you see all these beams with yarn, and that gets a bit technical. To give you an idea, it's not exactly right, but you have a machine which is 200 inches wide, and it has 30 needles per inch. So basically you have 6,000 needles that knit at the same time, and you have 6,000 ends of yarn, 6,000 yarns that go in the same time. And then this is like, we call that 2-bar, 3-bar, 4-bar. So if they have 4-bar, that means it knits 4 types of yarn together at the same time. That you would see not so much in headliners and seat fabric of cars. Headline mainly 3 bars. You have T-driven yarns. You have a machine that does 6,000 yarns at the same time. Runs at about 3,000 RPM when it makes the fabric. So it's really, this is a pretty, for us it's a simple machine, but it's very impressive stuff what they do.
Tony,
yep.
How did you get that at a trade show?
Yeah, we bring, I'll show you later a picture of an exhibition. And the trade show we have very big exhibition. This is a small machine. Yeah. If you do a big trade show, that's kind of, that costs us millions of dollars. Yeah. Yeah, this is at the trade show indeed, as you can see. So it's more complicated machine. It's like, this is like I mentioned with the sports shoes. If you look close up, it's really complicated. And I also show you the picture before. I showed the length direction of the machine. If you look at the side, you have this thing here. This is basically, so you look into the guts of the machine basically. The guts of the machine, the bottom there is like a big, let's say like a complicated camshaft mechanism for the car guys amongst you. You know, like a camshaft in a car, but in this case can be about 200 inches long. That makes all these things move. And then the top that shows basically where all the yarns come together to be knitted. In this case, there's like 6 different yarns if you count. 6 different yarns are kind of knitted together in 2 layers. Some of the things when they bring in the yarns, they kind of, every individual needle is computer controlled. You can say, I want a yarn, I don't want a yarn. Well, the computer says that. So that's why you get these holes in the pattern of the shoe. No yarn, you can make a little hole. Very complicated stuff. So you get this reel, but nobody ever looks at it. That's the interesting part of production equipment. Nobody ever looks at how things are made because you just take them for granted. But if you take a little bit of a complicated product here, you can, in one fabric, you can have little different holes, you can have stretch in different areas, you can have more compression here, less compression there. But it's not like little pieces sewn together, it's all in the same garment. So to control all that is quite complicated. And this just shows an example. I don't know if you can see it well. This is a shirt from Nike. I don't know if you can see it from the back, but you can see inside the shirt there's like ventilation areas near your armpits, there's like a compression area near your waist, but that's all in the same shirt and it's all knitted in the same shirt. So these machines are very complicated in terms of their control systems. Lots of motors, lots of computers. Just to give you another, like an idea how a real machine looks like. This is one that makes a seamless. Like in the US you would find a lot of Lululemon. Lululemon makes a lot of products on these machines. They're expensive. They make a lot of products on these machines. Not directly because they buy it from our customers. And I said the most complicated, just again, not to make your head spin or your eyes glaze, or a lace machine. Because lace, as you know, is a very complicated pattern. And basically we have machines that bring up to 95 different yarns together and kind of make them automatically computer controlled in a pattern. And I mentioned the technical, like, it's all driven by servo motors. Servo motors are small electrical motors that start and stop real quick and act very precisely, all computer controlled. That's kind of the most complex you would make. Everybody still with me? Next is the business unit's more preparation. As I said, it sounds simple, but it's not so simple because before you knit or you weave, I keep mentioning the simple example of the 6,000 yarns. You have the 6,000 yarns which are fed into a weaving loom or knitting in parallel. But the biggest challenge is that they all have to be exactly the same tension. Because if not, you'll get your shirt and it starts wrinkling and it starts puffing up, so it has to be exactly straight. To keep 6,000 yarns on one of these big beams that go into the machine, exactly the same tension. And in addition, most of the yarns have stretch, they have some elasticity. Regular polyester has elasticity, nylon has elasticity, and we also work with things like lycra, spandex, that definitely has elasticity. It's really complicated. Sounds simple, but really complicated. It's not just a drum behind it. Big machinery. So we do that for all kinds of industries, for our own knitting, but also for the weaving industry. A lot like also for, but we don't do for, in our knitting is like ordinary things, like cotton t-shirts and towels and sheets we don't do. But in weaving you do, but more preparation we do for those industries. So this shows, again, it sounds simple, it's not. It's this one chart we have in the presentation shows all the products we make there. There's all kind of different machines that at the end are supposed to end up, they all aim to have like a nice big beam with whatever, with 6,000 ends of yarn, which are exactly right. So there are simple things for if you have short runs, if you say whatever. Armani makes suits in Italy, they do very short runs. So they have machines that are really specialized in short runs. We have machines that are very high volume. We do for the denim industry, we do dyeing, because denim is dyed before it's woven. As you know, you don't dye the fabric, you don't dye the jeans, unless you have garment dyed, but you dye the yarn. So we do denim dyeing equipment. We have a very strange thing I always find, it's called sizing. That comes from the old weaving industry. is for cotton and wool. To make the weaving looms, run them more efficient, you basically coat the yarn with some kind of starch. So because cotton is fluffy, you know, so there's this machine, a sizing line. It's a big machine. Basically, you put some starch on all the yarn ends, and then at the end you dry it again, so it's dried starch. Then it goes to the weaving loom, and then you have to wash it out again. Kind of a strange thing, but supposedly it helps for efficiency in weaving. So again, to give you an idea, again I took some snapshots to give you an idea of the scale. So on the left we call it a creel, and this is a real small creel. So you start with these bobbins of yarn, and at the end you have to end up on one of these beams. Now if you do, and that's kind of tricky, I keep talking about the 6,000. If you make a beam with 6,000 ends, you don't want a creel like that with 6,000 different packages. So we have systems that basically you build it up in steps in a way. Because if you would have a creel with 6,000 things, that would be a huge building. And moreover, you get more and more trouble with your tension, because you have to keep that tension under control. A couple of other products. On the left, there's really like what we call a warping line. So we look from the beginning, so this kind of semi-transparent sheet you see, are all little ends of yarn, so that are basically wound toward us. And on the right, I mentioned the sizing, that's a sizing line. So that's this big thing where they put the starch on the cotton or the wool and then dry it before it goes into the weaving loom. Technical textiles, again, that's a completely different thing. We make all kind of things for military, things for airspace, wind energy, and there's basically like two different technologies. One is called, remember I talked about weft and warp to make life really confusing. You have the warp knitting, but then we put extra yarn into the weft to make it stronger. Not used for like roofing material, truck tarps and things like that. More exciting is that's the other part of that business is composites. It's called, and that's really reinforcement fabric. Everybody heard about a fiberglass boat. A fiberglass boat may have glass fiber fabric in it, which is basically made on these type of machines. A lot of this is used in the wind energy, so all these big windmill blades have a lot of that in there. That's, I would say, the single biggest application. And we do a similar thing with carbon, and that is used a lot in aerospace and in automotive, mainly aerospace. These machines are really big. One picture, I put this little yellow arrow, if you look there you can see a desk and a chair and a laptop. So you can see how big these machines are. That's a real big machine. Then I said support of because these machines have a long life, support is a big thing. So we do all kinds of things. We do spare parts, I'll rush a bit through that. We do service. We have about worldwide 200 service technicians. Because the new machines need to be installed, something's seriously wrong and needs to be changed. Service technicians come. And they are spread out around the world. We pool them, so we have technicians here. But sometimes you get technicians here from Germany, or Switzerland, China even that come here. Our guys go from here to China or India, it all happens. Spare parts, and it's very important, especially in mature markets. Here we do in the US, about 30% of our business is spare parts. So that's we do, including what we call web shop online, so customers can online to buy parts, which makes life easier for us. Then we talked about all these applications, so we have a kind of textile consulting department that helps customers and brands to develop new things. We have a training academy on 3 locations, in Germany, China and India. And then, as we said before, connected machines is a big thing. Now you can even service notification, you can go on the screen of your machine, we have an app, like a QR code, and it comes to our service department automatically. It reads the QR code and sends a service request. We talked about locations around the world, so we have, this is where we are. Head office in Germany, 3 plants in Germany, big plant in China. We don't manufacture everywhere. Here in the US, we do not manufacture. So we get our machines from Germany, China, Italy, mainly, some from Japan. And then I said I will talk a little bit about the work for the company, but it's kind of, because this stuff is also technical. I think this one is an interesting or fascinating business to be in. Yes, it's an interesting company, yes. And one of the most interesting things is something was launched by the Harvard Business Review, what they call hidden champions. And hidden champions are companies, mid-sized companies, that are really leading in very specialized niches, kind of a very international, very worldwide, usually very stable, very high quality. And many of them are in Germany. You ever read it? It's an interesting article. I just put a couple of things out of the... And this company, Karl May, is a typical one of these stereotypical hidden champion, which is really good. One of our main saying also, we do something right or we don't do it at all. I think it's a real good way to live by. So that makes life very easy or very interesting to work. Another thing which makes it very interesting for me, I've always been very fascinated by different cultures from a young kid onwards. Different countries, different things. Youth exchange students at Rotary even when I was 16. So you get exposed to all these different things. I have just a couple of snapshots. Like top left is opening from a new development center in Japan. You see, interesting. Everybody wears white gloves. I don't know why. But the taxi drivers in Japan also wear white gloves. Some ladies at the trade show. Howard, you were asking that about the trade show. There's a trade show in India. A big trade show exhibition. They are really big. Company party. We had like 80th anniversary of the company last year. And we had like 750 people of I think 40 countries who come to that party. So that makes it really fun. Also, more fun personally. I have some snapshots on the left. Having a big beer and dinner with Mr. Shirasaki. He's an engineer from Japan. And have a lady in China. We have some ladies who, when we do development projects, they do all these yarns in the machines. And all Chinese love to have a Western name. We have two of them, and they're Heidi and Helga. So this is Heidi, who's standing next to me there, somewhere in our China plant. Now when you see Cynthia here, it's very international in our company and fun. Bottom right is a nice dinner or summer night somewhere in Germany from my colleague China, colleague Italy, colleague Japan, basically. So it's fun to do. On the left is last year we did an upgrade on our, bottom left, our SAP program. We did it with our own team from our own company. So at the end, when everything was done, we have this team, I think we had like 12 people from all different departments from Germany here for about 3 weeks or so. So that makes it a lot of fun. So and then I thought this whole thing, sorry, on the, the multicultural thing, I said, let's see if this thing works, goes back. I thought this is kind of interesting because also, as you know, I do youth exchange. I coach the outbound students for youth exchange, so I always deal with these different cultures. As Chip said so nicely, I've been traveling more face-to-face in more than 40 countries with this group. So I deal with people from different countries all the time. Is to understand people, how they communicate and what they mean and how they decide. I thought it was very interesting. And this is just a chart. I found some literature about international culture, how people communicate and how they work in different countries. You can see that here on 2 scales, confrontational, avoid confrontation, people, and if they're unexpressive or expressive. So if you take my home country, the Netherlands, people, Northern Europeans are they're not very excitable, but they can be very confrontational, and Germany even more. They're very direct, they don't package things nicely. In the US, they package things more nicely, but they're a bit more emotional. I give an example. If you look at France, I do exchange students. I had great difficulty this year with an exchange student in France because he thought her host parents were mad at her all the time. Because they have their seat top left on the scale. They're very emotional, they yell and scream at you, and they're very confrontational. so this girl didn't make it. At the end, she had to go back because she had so many difficulties. But this was kind of the point, because he thought they were always mad, and at schools he didn't do a real good job. And in the US, if you don't do a real good job, he said, oh, you should be better, you're almost perfect. In France, they say, you suck. And you suck real bad. And they scream at you. And then I went to France because I have contact with the district, and which I kind of went back and forth because it became a real crisis case. And then I sent her also this chart to, let's say, my counterpart in France. And the response that came back said, oh, I'm glad we don't scream as much as the Italians. But it's really, I think that's, stereotypical, but it's really true. And it's really good to understand. If Japanese, let's take a Korean example. We have a recent big Korean example. How they communicate doesn't really, don't understand that, you can make mistakes. Another one, same things on another one is decision making, how people make decisions. Is where you also have like, again, two scales. Are people consensual top down? Are they egalitarian or hierarchical? And that's really true. I take an example, China is all the way to the top. So I showed you that picture with Heidi. I mean, this girl I stood, she is so impressed that I do that as the president of the company, because her president in China would never do that. He wouldn't even talk to her, as an example. If you take Germany, the Netherlands, which is pretty, well, Germany is pretty hierarchical. Everybody said hair this, hair that, all last name. The Netherlands is very egalitarian, like the US, everybody first name, everybody like very friendly, but also very consensual. So the US, I would say, is much more hierarchical, that top down, and we have a meeting of half an hour and I say, okay, we're going to do this. In Germany, we sit down for 3 days. That's why I have to go to Germany for these meetings all the time. We sit for 3 days and everybody talks and talks. And I was thinking at the beginning, they already know. We already know where we want to end up, but we still talk about it 3 days. So that's basically, I think I'm running out of time, in fact. As I said, this whole thing of culture is really interesting, and as I said at the end, Chip said Greensboro is home. So, understanding the world, I even try to understand the world in Greensboro. Okay, so sorry, I'm running over time. Thank you so much for listening.